if we normalize talking about it, not
Yes.
normalize going through it.
Education for support, for family, friends as well, like how we as a society, like recognizing this.
And to get it out, right? I think
100%. Getting it out is so good. Like, it's
I
used
love
against
this.
us so much.
Yeah.
And also, I'm sorry, but what is wrong with having emotions?
This intersectionality about being a woman, an expat,
Yeah.
and then going through a burnout.
In some cases, it can take a year, 2 years, 3 years more to recover from like severe burnout.
Talking about it is a taboo. And if you have a colleague going through a burnout or somebody even in your family or partner maybe, how to... I used to think that pushing through and just keep going no matter what is actually what leads to good results, to what people say, oh, that's success, that's what it looks like. I thought I have to do that. No one was telling me I have to, but in my mind I was like, I have to. And pushing through and not stopping can actually lead to a burnout. So today I'm on the streets. This is Street Smarts, and this is where I try to figure out what do other people know that's sometimes even beyond the book smarts that we have out there. What do they know that I can learn from? And I'm trying to investigate a couple of topics that interest me, that I really want to know more about. Burnout is one of them. Today is Women's Day, so it's not only about burnout, it's also about intersectionality. How does being a woman come to play when dealing with stressors? What kind of stressors do we have as a woman, and how can that actually lead more to a burnout? And I asked a friend to come and join and just have a conversation about it. And I imagine that many people out there might be going through similar things. So I'll go wait for her, and yeah, let's see what she thinks.
Good.
Thank you, of course. Happy Women's Day.
Happy Women's Day.
Thank you.
Here again, another year down.
Did it ever feel odd to you to hear that from people? Like, I remember my mom telling me at some point, Happy Women's
Oh,
Day,
gosh.
and I was like, I'm a woman.
Don't even think I had women say that be a thing until I was really in a like way more corporate environment, like later
Oh,
in my
really?
life. Yeah, like it
Oh.
was never anything that was celebrated when I was younger. The older I get, it's more of a personal thing as well. But yeah, I
Oh.
never really had it when I was like younger, which was a bit crazy.
So true, yeah. I also growing older, I also get that. Okay, yeah. What did other women do, and what is this thing that they were fighting for, and
Yeah.
why is it important that we're together? Like,
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. It's a good reflection moment. Also, I think like we obviously talk about women's issues like so much in our day-to-day lives also, but then I suppose Women's Day in itself is kind of bringing it beyond just the woman bubble and out into the greater society also, you know, giving it awareness like beyond just women, which is interesting. Like it's good, but it always comes with it.
And yeah, when I was texting you, I was like, hey, Whit, I've been thinking about the intersectionality, about burnout and being a woman, and also for us as expats as well.
Yeah.
And I know that you have a lot of what I call the book smarts and also the street smart, having so much experience.
Yeah.
I've read about it, but what do you think, or what do you say? What is it like? What is a burnout actually? It's such a big word.
Yeah. I think, well, I mean, the clearest definition of burnout, it's a response to chronic workplace stress.
Okay.
So it's like a persistent workplace stress and a response to that. That's just like a very simplified answer to that. I think obviously how burnout manifests itself, the symptoms that you have to burnout is also very individual. You know, there's a lot of different things that can be recognized both physically, mentally, and emotionally. But how that affects everyone individually is very different. I think it also comes down to your personal situation, your personal environment, your support network, the network that you have within your workplace. Everything can have a different impact on people. So there is something specific around it, but it also, I think, it can be manifest itself and be interpreted very differently from person to person, you know.
Because it would be easier if we could all go, to cosmopolitan.com and just fill out a quiz. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
okay, am I having a burnout? So is that possible or not? Because we all go through stress. So
Yeah.
how can I know, this stress I'm going through is something more serious than just, say, everyday stress?
Yeah, I think that the biggest difference is that it is the persistentness of it, you know, it happening over and over and over again. You know, like the biggest kind of indicator for burnout is just complete physical, emotional, mental exhaustion, you know, to the point of, you know, where you are becoming unable to do the most basic and simple tasks, you know, like doing the laundry, washing the dishes, caring for yourself, your self-care, you know, like it could be very small things, like not brushing your teeth twice a day, like brushing your teeth only once a day, maybe not brushing your teeth, like not going through your daily practices, your daily routines, which seem so normal when you're not in a heightened place of stress, but when it is in a persistent place of stress, these are the key small things that you kind of maybe don't notice. But when you're looking under the surface, when that is happening, you know, we're talking days and weeks and months in and out. That's when it becomes then a chronic issue. That is then then it turns into burnout, you know.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a big thing, and as you said, like so different for many people.
That's also just like the biggest, like that's kind of the biggest indicator. But then we have other things where you have, you know, increased anxiety, depression. You can also have physical things happening to you as well. Like, you know, it could result in a loss of appetite. It could manifest itself with like things like hives, you know, like if your body could start reacting to it physically also.
Because speaking about that, looking at the physical part of it, is it basically like our mind is, oh, I'm on this journey to do all of these projects or to do this career, to do all of these things that like mentally we want to achieve, that we set ourselves towards. But then is that our body say, no, girl?
Yeah, most of the time it is. And also like even with the mental side of it, like that is your body also responding to it as well. But I think like, you know, we are in this, there's been a lot of growth in terms of mental health and mental health awareness, but it's still very, like there's still quite a stigma around it, and the acceptance that, you know, like the mental health side of it is quite often still questioned a lot in a lot of instances. And, but then from these mental things, like, as I just said, like there are physical manifestations of this, you know, so like even though that is a stress, like a chronic mental stress that's happening, if it's resulting in a physical thing happening with your body, losing your hair, you know, like coming out in a rash, coming out in hives, like, you know, like not being able to eat, like those are physical things that are happening. So like I think it is very, I don't know, it's quite difficult because obviously if you've never been through it, you've never had to deal with mental health problems in your life, it is hard for people to completely empathize, you know. And so we do have this questioning around it sometimes, which I think makes it difficult, like, but we're getting there. I know we think about our parents who like maybe never even had this kind of conversation in their discourse at all, and now we are talking about it and it is present, you know, we have the language for it a little bit more, so that is progress in itself already, which is good.
There is progress, but I noticed that there is still prevalent stigma around it because it's taboo topic, and once you say, oh, is this mental health, it becomes, oh my god, this is this big thing. So how do you actually solve this? Do you have any ideas what can we do
Yeah.
to better the fact that as a society at work we need to talk about this
Definitely, yeah,
to
yeah.
remove the stigma, but how to?
Yeah, I think also there's a couple of things. Is like I think that the general kind of response to it right now is very reactionary. You know, like we're responding to people having burnt out and being being at the lowest point and having to pull them out of that, which is actually like a lot difficult, a lot harder to do than preventing someone from even getting there in the first place, and like actually having the more preventative measures in place, which all comes down to like in the workplace, it's educating managers, educating leadership on how to spot early signs of burnout. It's also education for us personally on, actually like instilling daily practices like, and that's so cliche because like this is really, we're getting this stuff hammered into us all the time anyway, but it really is journaling, meditation, having some self-reflection, really like sitting with your thoughts every week or once a month and going, how have I been feeling for the last 30 days, the last 15 days, the last 7 days, like, is there actually a pattern here that maybe I haven't been noticing because I have all of these other external things going on, such as my family life, my relationship, my children, my sick parents, my dog, my cat, or whatever, like all of these other things that you are dealing with, and actually taking the time to be very like present with yourself and asking yourself these questions, and then putting in the necessary boundaries around your limitations, like being aware of what your limitations are, putting in the boundaries for that, and then recognizing the signs when you're getting to a point of like, actually like this is too much and it's not, I can't actually, I'm not able to function, I'm beginning to not be able to function properly, or I'm losing the ability to be able to critically think properly or be able to manage my emotions appropriately and these kinds of things. So it really does come back to education, personal education, and also education within the workplace, education for support for family, friends as well, like how will we as a society like recognizing this and kind of learning about how we can start to prevent it rather than react to it.
The boundaries part is so important, I think, because it feels to me almost that we have set at society and work what we expect of people. Also with the term resilience, I'm a little bit icky with this word because we push, we just need resilience, we need to be resilient or learn to be resilient, and it almost gives me the message that if there is something that maybe we didn't tackle, we should still be resilient to all of that, because it gives the message that it is possible to be this big, resilient kind of a rock, where, of course, we are not rocks, we are humans. So setting the boundaries, you also mentioned, our parents, right? For them, might have been completely different, and the work ethics is so simplified. You just have to work, you have to earn a living, the livelihood, just do your part no matter what. But today, where more is the norm.
Yeah, definitely. And also, like, even in the workplace, we've got like we're in some cases we have 5 different generations of people working in the workplace. We have a lot of different work styles, different work ethics. And it takes a lot of work to manage and also have acceptance, awareness of that in the first place. And it's going to be a journey still, I think, for us to really get to understand that completely and how we work together. And I don't know, it's a very big conversation topic in itself that.
And it can get, say, bigger and also more exact or more in detail when we talk about this intersectionality. So I thought speaking with you has also been so lovely because of this. Being a woman, what do you think that are the pressures we have for being a woman, the expectations that society put out for us? Does that contribute in a sense or lead us quicker to that burning point?
I think personally, from my opinion on it, is that I think that we're just in a very interesting kind of point in society and life that we have more and more women who are quite self-sufficient. A lot of women are more career driven. And we are having access to more leadership roles, more higher level roles, while also still being primary caregivers, whether that to be to children or to family members, and or also like running a domestic household, for example. They're doing a 40-hour work week or whatever on top of also doing all of those other things where 30, 40, 50 years ago we were just we weren't doing that. We're just housewives. So
which is a lot, and it can also lead to a burnout. You don't have to
definitely.
be in the office.
I think
To
that
have a
you
burnout,
can have a
right?
burnout on a personal situation, but how burnout is described at the moment is a chronic workplace thing. And it's because you could have a burnout to a personal situation, but if you're working also, it's how the workplace allows you to be able to respond and recover to that. So, like if you're also going through something like a divorce, for example, and then like you're not getting the proper support from within your workplace to allow you the time to be able to recover from that properly, and you're also still having an insane, hectic, like stressful job on top of that, then that is the response to it. You get into a burnout from that side of things. So it's just too much.
It's just too
It's
much.
too much. The
Sometimes,
expectation, I think, is a little bit too much sometimes.
But how to know, like, because many times I think we all feel, this is too much, but then sometimes a good night of sleep helps, and that's already okay, that sort of fixed it. Sometimes a week vacation helps. But then there is this difference where the too much is actually got deeper inside of us, right? And it's like, okay, no, I seriously need to stop. And then what is the advice? Like, if we're going through that, is it, okay, now stop work, or what is the first step?
I think it's really hard because I think, as I was saying earlier, like everyone's situation is difficult. And I would say, for somewhere like here in the Netherlands, there's a very supportive healthcare system, thankfully. And they're also, it's quite common here to go on a burnout, and it's quite recognized like within society to do that. It's known, but there's also a healthcare system to be able to allow that. Whereas I think about places like New Zealand, where I'm from, or like even within the UK, I think people are constantly just like on the hamster wheel, because like actually you only get 10 days of sick leave a year, if you go over that, then you go on statutory sick pay, which is what I think about like £90 a week or something, like, which in this current economic climate is not a lot of money to live on. So it's hard to say exactly what you should be doing, because like in the Netherlands, I would say go to your GP and like speak to them and get the support that you can, whereas I don't know if you would be able to get the same amount and level of support in, say, in other countries for that also.
Much different. And talking about it is a taboo. And if you have a colleague going through a burnout, or somebody even in your family or partner maybe, how to then give support to those people, right? And exercising empathy, but still respecting the other, and yet being friendly with that person. Also policing yourself to not show a weird sense of pity, because that to the person can bring them down and make them question, oh, right, there must be something wrong with me.
Yeah.
That's just weird. So I think if we normalize talking about it, not normalize going through it, but normalize speaking about it, then we can be more okay, like, this is a serious thing. Let's talk about it. How are you doing? Oh, okay. What can we do to help that? Can we reduce the projects? Do we have to maybe have a careful look if maybe there is more people needed at work to do something, and at home maybe also dividing tasks if somebody has a partner, or is there something from my life that can go backstage for the moment, like, for now I don't really have to put a lot of focus on this, let's leave that for now, and then take care of the other stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also, like, what I would say about burnout is it can be a very isolating experience to go through,
So
right?
true.
So
Yeah.
I think like just in a support perspective, whether that be from your partner, from your friends, from your family, from your colleagues, from your boss or whatever, connection is key. And don't underestimate the power of a phone call, a text message,
Yeah,
a letter,
so
a
true.
voice note, the invitation for a meal, the invitation for a walk, these little things. And I mean, this goes into like a way bigger conversation about like how much like social media is affecting like our, our sense of community these days. And that is being slowly stripped away from us, like, and has been over the last however many years. But I think actually kind of really dialing back into that and coming together with the support and actually realizing that we used to, as a community, eat together and have this community support, and that's been really slowly stripped away. And I think just going back to that kind of like basic part of it and just showing up and being aware that, as you said, your partner, having a conversation, like asking, what can I do to make this easier for you? How can I like take off your stresses for this time? And it is a balanced part of also a relationship as you go along, right? But then at the same time, like in other situations, noticing if it's a friend that like lives on their own, doesn't have a partner, like don't forget about them, check in and call in on them and see if there is something that you can do, kind of just like help each other out, and I think start being comfortable having the uncomfortable conversations, like the the more we start doing this, the less, like, the more comfortable they will become, I think. Like, the more we start just actually discussing it and talking about it, like, the easier the barriers will break down. But it's just getting the conversation out there,
Getting it started.
Yeah.
And also sometimes even with closer ones, that's where it gets more difficult.
Yeah.
For some people, it might be easier to talk to their boss about it, but then to their partner, it might be more difficult just to be vulnerable, to show, hey, I really need to stop, or there's something that has to be done here.
I think also in the workplace, see what access you do have, like, your company might have a mental health support line that you can access. If it's something that you don't feel like you have a relationship with your boss that you want to talk about, like, is there someone in the HR department? Is there a confidentiality advisor? Is there someone else that you might feel okay to speak on your behalf? Do you have employee resource groups, like within a DE&I committee that can help you? These kinds of things, like, see what access is available to you and find like where you can. And I think so many people think that maybe they're afraid to speak out, but find the community somewhere that can help.
Yeah, and also do things that you like and that makes you happy. I think that's a big one. And don't be afraid, because I've heard from friends, and I was also texting with a friend. I want to read you some comments later that she sent me that are super interesting. But one thing that one friend told me, I was afraid to show that I was having a good time or that I was somewhere where I was enjoying myself. And that is so counterproductive, because the person, is struggling with something, and then what should that person do? Do more of the things that actually bring them joy, that helps them. But if society is looking like, wait, you are supposed to be on your bed?
I mean, like, the easiest kind of explanation about that also is that, like, recovering from burnout is not a linear scale, right?
So
you
true.
have your ebbs and flows. Like, so, like, you will have these moments of greatness, but you can also dip back down again. But when you look at it over a period of a year or 2 years, your exponentiality on it is that it is getting better and better and better over time. But like, during that time, you have gone up and down.
Absolutely.
So,
and if you are feeling great, embrace it.
Yeah.
And if you go to that down point again, like,
be okay. Like, it's part of the process, and don't beat yourself up about it. Like, just also accept. And I think also when it comes to like a physical thing with your body, like, be kind to your body, make sure you're just eating right, and that like you're doing
Exercise.
but also don't like force yourself to go out and run every day and run all it. No, like if like all you can manage is a walk around the block and you can get out and have some sunshine, or like you can go for a 5-minute swim or something like that, that's better than nothing for starters. So don't put too much pressure on yourself. Just listen to your body, you know, like when you actually really start to look in a little bit more and self-reflect, as I said before, then you become a lot more in tune to actually like what you really need. And also just don't, people are going to probably tell you, you should be doing this, you should be doing this, this worked for me, whatever. But actually just find out what it is that works for yourself and just start kind of listening to yourself a little bit more and going from there, I think, you know.
It's hard to listen to ourselves. It sounds one of those things that, oh, everybody says that, it must be easy. But actually, no, you have to actively listen.
And we're also just so busy. Where is the time for this?
Yeah, and if we're feeling something that maybe our body's saying, stop with this, we don't like it, we're actually on our phones, entertaining ourselves and hijacking our attention with the feed, which is showing maybe people being so happy, or short videos that are just getting us addicted. And that is, that can be also so problematic, I think.
Yeah.
So listening to our bodies can be hard, and the mental attention, I think we were mentioning about, meditation, just reflection, journaling. I feel that our mind...
Also, just going back to the, like, give yourself a break is also, you know, I think people get really frustrated when they think, like, I want to meditate, I should be meditating. And then they go for the first time to sit and meditate and they're like, why can I not like be in silence? Because like that's practice. It takes practice to like get to the point where you can really switch off. So also just starting by, it's not even just that meditation, it's the ritual around it, right? Like taking that time to give yourself that space to like just be present for starters. And then, you know, also with journaling, that doesn't mean you have to write a page, 2 pages of stuff. You could literally just write a sentence down on something of like how you felt that day, something that happened, a moment in time for you to reflect on. It doesn't have to be a novel, you know. You might get there at some point, but like just learn to read yourself a little bit more.
And to get it out, right? I think
100%. Getting it out is so good. Like that's journaling's so good for that.
Otherwise it stays with you. So
100%,
if you put it at least on paper, that you're telling your body, okay, I understood this.
Recognizing it.
And now I'm putting it out, is literally getting it out of you. It got out from your mind through your pen or your computer or your phone, whatever, but it got out there. So it is signaling something to the body.
I think so too, yeah.
About being a woman and going through, you know, stressors, there is this author I really like, Emily Nagoski.
Okay, yeah.
She says that we as women were actually taught to be human givers.
Yes.
So we're not human beings. We're not just being.
Yes.
But we are taught, no, you're not here for be. You're to be. You're here to give.
Yes.
And it was so impactful for me to understand that and realize that. Because that, you know, took away a bit, oh, okay, so now I understand when sometimes I felt tired or I felt, oh, I already gave a lot, but I felt I still had to give some more.
Yeah.
And I understood, oh, it's not only my personality and the way that I am myself wired, but also how I was taught to be wired.
I mean, that's a big anthropological question, really, right? Like about the history of women. We kind of have been at the service of everything for a very long time. And for us, it's also just it's our nature, right? You know, as caregivers, because we have the instinctive maternal aspects as well.
True.
You know, even if you don't have children, it is like a thing that has come down from our ancestry.
It definitely comes from us. It is natural to us, so to say.
Yes,
but then
it's a default almost, right? It takes a lot to unwire yourself from that.
She's just okay, girl. Now just be a bit.
Yeah.
Just like sometimes not only be the human giver.
Mhm.
Because it's very nice for others, of course, to have people who are always on the watch at, oh, how can I give? How can I make sure things are running? How can I ensure
Mhm.
everything, is on the table, is on the files, is everything is there? Yeah, and sometimes we don't have to be the superhero.
Yeah, I think we also just kind of are in somewhat a lot, maybe also instinctively always putting like a lot of other things ahead of ourselves. So I think it is a little bit of like reclaiming that a little bit more. And
So true.
yeah.
Okay, so are you ready? Okay, so as I told you, I was chatting with this friend of mine who actually has been through a burnout.
Yeah.
She's a woman, and she was telling me about her experience. So I was curious, okay, how did it start? How was that first beginning? And she said, I began to feel extremely tired. I lost my sense of excitement and happiness towards the things that I love. Motivation and pleasure disappeared. But since it was only an inner feeling, nobody noticed. So also that thing of, oh, keep an eye out that maybe you will spot. Maybe, yeah, sometimes not possible. And she continued, I felt stuck in life.
Yeah.
So then I started therapy.
Yeah.
A few months later, my therapist told me that all my symptoms were caused by burnout.
Yes.
And she's from South America.
Yeah.
I always thought burnout was something you just rested away from.
Yeah.
Or you just had to quit your job and find a new one.
Yeah.
But I learned it is much more complicated than that.
Yeah, so true. I think there are these things like, are you, I don't know, because like there are these inner things, but actually when you really think about it, they do manifest themselves at a level as physical things also at a point, as I said before, like you might not notice it. And I think also this is the different thing, like with if you are in a partnership, like noticing whether you're, like, one thing is knowing that you sleep for like 8, 9, 10 hours a night and then still constantly feeling tired. Like,
Oh, yeah.
knowing that you are sleeping enough, but you're still feeling tired. Like, yes, that's an inner thing, but actually, like, that's an outwardly physical thing that's happening, right? The opposite effect of that could be you struggle to sleep. Like you struggle to get to sleep, you struggle to stay asleep, you wake up like a lot earlier, and then you're constantly tired as well. Then other things like your lack of ability to concentrate, like if you've noticed that, like, you actually physically cannot stare at a screen for that long anymore because you just can't. You just cannot concentrate. You could be looking and you're staring and actually like you're not taking in the
yeah, in the
information.
void.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. So listen to those cues.
Yeah, like tried to be aware of that. And that's also what I said about, like, watch out for your friends who are actually like on their own, because you might not be seeing any of that stuff. And then like you might then go to their house one day and actually like there's a pile of dishes sitting there and like they haven't changed their bed sheets for like 2 months, or they're sleeping on the couch rather than in their bed, like this kind of stuff. Like actually there are kind of little telltale signs if you maybe are being a little bit more aware of it.
Because some of it is also pushing through exhaustion.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, you're exhausted, but no, I can still do it. No, keep going. So I also asked her like what made her realize that something was also wrong. She said it was actually a gradual process.
Yeah.
But then it exploded.
100%. Yeah.
She said I stopped making plans with my friends because I was always working.
Yes.
And while working, I started feeling a stiffness, as if my mind knew what to do, but my body couldn't move.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then the heavy pressure in my chest and the anxiety attacks appeared. From that moment on, I stopped going to the office.
Yeah.
My personality changed, she even says, from being happy and cheerful to being very grumpy, and my colleagues didn't enjoy working with me.
I know, but then I think also, like, just going back to the woman thing, this gets played on us. you're really emotional. Why are you being so emotional? Why are you reacting like this? Like, why are you responding like that? Like, it's a like, I'm sorry, but we don't use that language when we talk about men responding or reacting to things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. We
Like,
don't.
we
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
Men don't get told that they're emotional
Exactly.
or that they're being they're upset because of this, or like, why do you get upset so easily? Like, we don't talk about men in the workplace like that, or
Absolutely.
like even outside the workplace, but like that is a language that is weaponized against women for sure.
It is. And
Yeah.
if women are listening and they say, okay, I am setting my boundaries, the boundaries can be set also sometimes in that way.
Yes.
And then people are like, why are you being so emotional? Why are you doing such a big deal
Gets
out
used
of
against
this?
us so much.
Yeah.
And also, I'm sorry, but what is wrong with having emotions? Let's start normalizing that also.
Also,
I think the world would be a better place if like everyone was more in tune with their emotions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But that also comes back to empathy, right? Like, to really truly be empathetic, you need to be aware and have awareness of emotions and like be attuned with your own emotions also.
Be in tune with our own emotions. Because, for example, she says that her productivity didn't change.
Yeah.
So she was productive. And like you said at the beginning, it's different for many people. So it might be for some people, oh, I literally cannot do this work anymore.
Yeah.
But for her, it's interesting that her body, her mind, her feelings were all being changed by the burnout. But
She's
her
still
work,
delivering.
she's still delivering.
Yeah.
And then but then she was having the anxiety attack. So she said when the anxiety attacks started happening in the middle of the day, sometimes multiple times a day, I got really scared and I knew that I needed help.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's also like so far into the process.
It is, yeah.
So far into it, so deep already, And that's why I say, like, when you're getting there, also like when you're bottom, like at rock bottom, it's quite hard to get out from there. Like especially if you don't have a good support network, like.
So go search support, like you need help.
Definitely, like, and actually, that's what I said before about like not underestimating the power of a phone call and the power of like literally a handout, because I think sometimes we kind of just expect people to be able to recover from mental illness like so easily. And actually, when you're at rock bottom, sometimes you really physically need a hand. You physically need to like reach out and be like, Rafaela, like, take my hand right now and like I'm gonna just help you with the first step. And like maybe they won't be able to get there. But I think just like it doesn't help from like to give that support, and at least there's so many other things that impact it, like just having a supportive mom and dad could mean the difference to someone who like doesn't have that. Being in a relationship could really help. Being in a relationship could really not help.
Yeah, sometimes, absolutely.
Exactly, right? Like, so it is. There's so many impacting factors of it around as well. So,
and I think also people shouldn't have shame if they aren't that rock bottom, to then also say, okay, this is where I draw the line. This is where I have to change things. Because this is the path, actually, right? Like if we're not listening to our bodies, okay, this is not doing me well. I'm just pushing through exhaustion. So there are serious consequences.
I think there's also can be a lot of sometimes there's other people who are in the world dealing with like way more worse things than me, like this kind of thing.
That is such a good
But then it kind of goes back to the like, if you're in a plane that's going down, you got to put your like face mask on before you like deal with other people around you also. So like I think maybe don't, also you have to sometimes self-preservation also. But it's hard to not. But I think like the thing with burnout as well, you lose your sense of self-worth which is really the hardest thing to come back from, because you basically have to build yourself back up again. And it's almost like you're relearning how to walk. Sometimes you're relearning how to have proper conversations and like deal with your emotions and these things, because you really get like completely broken down and in a severe burnout case. And then on top of that, it's almost like you're expected to recover just like that.
Yeah.
And actually, in some cases, it can take a year, 2 years, 3 years more to recover from like severe burnout. And that is also when you're doing it in this reactionary thing, right? Like actually, like if we were trying to prevent it a little bit more and then people started to burn out, like they could probably recover in a couple of months if they had all of the proper support network in place. But if that isn't there and then you just are into that rock bottom place, like that can take years to properly like recover from. So we're in this kind of time at the moment where also burnout is, I don't know if it is that it is a new thing or we're just seeing it more now because it's being reported. We have the data on it, like the language is out there and we are seeing it. So that's why we're talking about it more. We're seeing more and more data points on it. Was it always there and we just didn't know, or is it just an effective change in society at the moment? Yeah, it's hard to know, but
It's hard to know, but it's definitely not an imagined thing.
Definitely not.
Yeah,
No.
don't blame yourself. Like,
No.
oh, this is something from my head, or oh, this is just an email. Why can I not do it? If it's just an email, oh, it's much more than an email. Trust me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And then the third thing I was chatting with her about was this intersectionality about being a woman, an expat,
Yeah.
and then going through a burnout.
Yeah.
And one thing that I felt like many of us will feel very seen by her experience. She said, I felt I had to prove myself because I am an expat. For a few years, I believed that I should be thankful for having a job and shouldn't complain about it. During my burnout, I learned that it should be the other way around. Perhaps being a woman and an expat made me be harder on myself. I felt I had to prove my worth, not only to my job, but to my family, my friends, and mainly to myself. Through this journey, I learned to be kinder to the woman I am becoming.
Yeah, I think like it also, is this just now something as women we are learning, we do have to think about before, as I was talking about before, about how we are now more career driven, we're like a lot more self-sufficient, and with that does come this maybe self-perpetuated like expectation level that we're putting out on ourselves, because there is this kind of like shift going on.
As human givers, remember that, right?
Because
Because it's amazing, okay, to be career driven, to have kids, not have kids, build the type of family you want to have a partner, not have a partner, just be the woman you want to be. But then remember that if you want to do it all, we have been taught to be human givers, and it's just impossible.
Yeah, it is. The expectation is very high right now, I think. And that we're also living in quite a like politically cutthroat like time. Corporate world is pretty cutthroat also, you know. Economically it's a pretty cutthroat time to be living in at the moment. So there's a lot on the line.
There's
as
a lot on
well.
the line.
You know, it's a big expensive
And that
to live right now. And so like you're then do also, if you are in these different countries where, you know, there's different labor laws, there's different responses to things. So you know, like in America where you can just be let go of with 2 weeks notice without anything, you know, like there's not a lot of protection over there for that kind of thing. Whereas like, you know, here, Germany, France, you have quite a significant more protection as an employee. Like, how much does that have an impact on whether you can feel like you can acknowledge that you might be dealing with something like burnouts? Like that has a different. Also, when you think about the expat thing, when you also think about someone like maybe who has come from a United State, like from the US, and come over here, and they, in the US you get 10 days worth of leave,
Vacation,
which is not just vacation, but it's also your sick leave,
Oh,
it's your
really?
bereavement leave, it's paid time off for anything.
Wow.
Whereas, over here we get 25 days holiday plus public holidays plus bereavement leave, compassionate leave, all of these. In America you don't even get maternity leave. I think it's only like just recently come in. So someone who's from America then coming here and thinking, oh well, I don't want to say anything about my burnout because I can't, we don't get any time off kind of thing, or there's no support from the healthcare system, when actually no, you do.
Yeah, and sometimes just like us looking at ourselves like, oh, come on, just shake it off, or just like be thankful that you have this job.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, in the first place, right? Just be grateful that you even are working.
Exactly.
That you can have a career. You can do it all.
I loved how she ended because she said, I learned to be kinder to the woman I am becoming.
Yes.
Like, how powerful
that,
right?
I think that's so true. Yeah. I think, kindness does go a long way. And to yourself as well. Yeah. Cutting yourself a break sometimes.
Yeah. Speaking about it, also helping others, I found that also like,
definitely.
Just reaching out, like I said, send a text message. Because if we're both like giving out the hand to each other as women, as colleagues, as people, we're doing a lot for the other person, but we're also doing that for ourselves.
Yeah, definitely. I think we get a lot of dopamine from doing gestures of kindness for other people,
Being of service.
Being of service, and I think that then goes down to that, like our sense of community is really broken down.
I love that. What you said. Yeah, definitely. We need more of that.
Yeah.
So, well, I felt that I could have that sense of community with today. It was so nice.
Yeah, thank you.
There is a lot more to talk about.
Yeah, always.
But I feel that starting these conversations and putting some light on topics like burnout, it is special to be a woman in the society that we're at and be going through symptoms that are varied, and being able to call, hey, this is a burnout, I need to draw my boundaries, I need to look at myself and also listen to myself. That's so important.
Yeah, definitely. I think like find your support network, in whatever sense that is. It could be burnout support, but it also could be within a women's group, or just like find your community a little bit more. Yeah.
So beautiful.
Speak to your neighbors. Like I have a neighbor that's next to me. She's like 70, and like I go around and have tea with her all the time. She calls me all the time and she's like, are you okay? Like
loneliness is such a big
she's also on her own as well. Yeah. So like that, and it's so nice. Like even just when I like make her some muffins or like a banana bread or something, she loves it.
Oh, that's really nice.
Simple things.
When we moved in, also our neighbor came and he brought us something, and it was just so unexpected. Like what? And it was just so sweet. And also like a core memory. When I moved in here, this happened. So also know that like your small gestures can be the core memory of somebody else.
Definitely. Yeah. It's so true. Yeah. The little things go a long way. Yeah.
Thank you. So that was the first Street Smarts episode. I'm Rafaela and I spoke today with Whitney. And the reason why I wanted to talk to her was actually she not only has the book smarts on the topic of being a woman, being an expat, and also burnout by working with it in a professional setting. She also has a lot of street smarts. So she's helped a lot of people and she witnessed a lot, and that makes her so special in that setting. So I definitely enjoyed myself. I learned a lot. I hope you too. So hope to see you around next time. I'll see what else I can learn from other people, how I can seek for advice, and how can I, get more of the street smarts of life. See you around.